Just 3 weeks after passing the mark of 1 million COVID-19 cases, France has now broken through the barrier of 2 million infections. The number of people being treated in hospital is rising, the mortality rate remains high, and people do not see the situation improving soon.
In December we may be able to go out again, but in January we'll probably be in lockdown again. I hope that when the sunny days come, finding a vaccine, life will start again.
The
new lockdown is a sledgehammer blow. I think that the next wave of cases will cause nervous breakdowns and, unfortunately, suicides, because there are people in an extremely precarious situation.
Being alone, I have a life that is based on culture. I love cinema, theatre and socializing with my friends, and all that is over. What do I have left? To read a book at home by myself. How long am I going to last like this?
One reason for the spike in confirmed cases is the mass testing programme, which is uncovering more infections.
In Paris alone, every neighbourhood has 3 or 4 walk-in centres where you can just turn up on the day and get a free test for COVID-19. I went for a test last month, and after 10 months of reporting on the pandemic, I tested positive for this coronavirus. I didn't have a fever, but I did lose my sense of smell, and I isolated for 10 days.
France had a first wave of cases and then the first lockdown. Now it's in a second wave of infections and the nationwide lockdown is back in place. For some, this strategy of going in and out of confinement is not sustainable in the long run.
Definitely, we need to avoid this stop and go lockdown wave, lockdown until we get the vaccination. The government needs to be aware to avoid this stop and go strategy, which is totally a nonsense and very as a cost which is incredible in terms of economy and psychology.
Public health authorities in France are beginning to sound cautious notes of optimism that the measures put in place could be having a positive effect.
Our collective efforts are starting to bear fruit. In recent days, the number of new cases have been dropping, but we must redouble our efforts to regain control of the epidemic. Individual and collective efforts, plus respecting the curfews, then the lockdown, explain this positive trend.
The Christmas and New Year holidays are approaching, and people will be anxious to celebrate the end of 2020. But the government wants to avoid a third wave and a possible third lockdown, and the president will lay out his plans for this next week.